but then you want to keep your job. So you essentially end up having less competent people under you to make your performance look better. Most employers or most managerial systems are going to be looking who's immediately in front of them. Like, hey, can you take the reins?
Yeah.
Hey, can you, I mean,
Right.
you're here now. Can you do this? It's just like, because what a recruitment strategy, it's like,
Right.
It's like we talk about how in the veterinary profession, we often fail twice when it comes to management, is we have our best performing technician, and that best performing technician is the best you're going to find in what she does. And it's like, hey, you're kind of my right-hand tech. You want to come be an office manager now? Right. And it's like you then take your best technician and you create a void, because that position is now going to be filled by someone else who is potentially less competent. And then you take your best technician, you put them into a position for which they have no training, and then you don't have an education system in place in order to teach them the ropes, essentially. Mm-hmm. So it's like that's why I say we fail twice in many circumstances. So for you to, what do you, and it's, you should take this, and it's like you feel overwhelmed. Like, yeah, that's a substantial amount of responsibility, like that close to being out of school. Similarly, I had a thing where when I was still in veterinary school, there was an issue with one of the humane societies I was actually just doing a 3-week externship at. They had this whole quarantine thing, and it was a big problem. They had to cull a bunch of animals, and basically the veterinarian had quit because they needed a head to roll. And they basically came up to me and they were like, so what are your thoughts about working in a shelter full time? And I'm like, bruh, I am in vet school right now. Like it's actually relatively inappropriate for us to be having this conversation anyway, but yeah, so it's not to completely interject on your story, but it's like that happens a lot, where it's like we're put into these circumstances that we're uncomfortable with, which actually can end up scaring us out the door, and lead to potential missed opportunity.
Yeah. It's sort of like, it's funny because what you're describing is sort of like the Peter principle. It's like the whole idea that like you keep, in a corporate system, you keep getting promoted until you reach a level where you're incompetent and can no longer be promoted.
What was the principle's name?
The Peter principle.
Never heard of that.
You never heard of it?
No. I've simply referred to it as failure of corporatization, where it's like you keep moving up until, like you said, there's a certain level of incompetence what you get there, but then you want to keep your job. So you essentially end up having less competent people under you to make your performance look better. So that's a pretty common corporate environment, and that's why we're so adamant about focusing on our education system and having our corporate tiers not on hierarchy but on support. So for us, it's administration is below, supporting the employees above. So Peter system.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. So here, I'll read it to you. The Peter principle is a concept in management developed by Laurence J. which observes that people in a hierarchy tend to rise to their level of incompetence. Mm-hmm. An employee is promoted based on their success in a previous job until they reach a level at which they are no longer competent, as the skill in one job does not necessarily translate to another.
Oh my God, I don't have to say we failed twice anymore. I can say it's the Peter principle.
You can just say it's the Peter principle. Yeah.
See, I love that. I love when I say something that I'm like, well, clearly this is what it is. And then like, well, now this is the first time, Caroline, you've had that opportunity. But a lot of times Ben is like, hey, they have a whole book on that. And I'm like, awesome.
I mean, there is a book on it.
Yeah, so there we go. Caroline, you get your first, there's a book on that.
Hey, you made it to the end of the video. Thanks for watching. If you want to watch this full podcast, go ahead and click up here. If you want to watch our newest podcast, go ahead and click down here. And if you want to subscribe to see everything else that we do, go ahead and click right here. Thanks.